So I knew I wanted to do a Let's Talk Tropes video this month, but I couldn't settle on one trope to talk about, so I let my friends pick a bunch for me instead. Hello everybody, my name is Danny, and welcome back to my channel, and welcome to a special installment of Let's Talk Tropes, where I talk not about one trope in this video, but a whole range of them, and some pretty unpopular ones at that. I couldn't figure out what trope I wanted to talk about this month, so I asked my friends, and all of the ones they were suggesting were ones that they hated, and so I decided why not just lump them all together and make a video just about some unpopular tropes in general. So about 1 week ago, I made a little survey with some questions and sent it out, and several of my friends responded, and I'm just going to talk about the responses now. So the first two questions were pretty similar. I gave the same list of unpopular tropes, and in the first question asked them to choose which of the ones they absolutely hated, and which of the ones they either liked or just didn't mind. And so there were 8 tropes that I listed. The first is when the protagonist is somehow good at every single thing they try, which is pretty self-explanatory as a trope. The second is the experienced guy virgin girl dynamic, also pretty self-explanatory. The third was the manic pixie dream girl, which was coined by film critic Nathan Rabin, who describes this as a female character who exists purely for the development of the male character and isn't really a character in her own right. And a good example of this is, in my opinion, Ramona from Scott Pilgrim vs. the World. Other people might have other opinions, but I see her as the quintessential manic pixie dream girl. The fourth trope is the girl who doesn't know how beautiful she is, which can tie into the manic pixie dream girl, but it's also its own separate thing. 5 is misunderstandings or a refusal to communicate, which basically means that the main conflict in the story is a direct result of characters either refusing flat out to talk to each other, or when they do talk to each other, they just don't listen, and so they don't understand what the other person's actually saying. The 6th is Insta-Love, which is self-explanatory. 7 is the chosen one, which I also feel like I don't have to explain. And the 8th trope is compulsory heterosexuality, or everyone getting paired up at the end, because of course gay people don't exist in stories, and no one's allowed to be single at the end of the story. Are you crazy? And so I asked my friends which of those they absolutely hated and which of them they actually liked, and here are the results. So every single person said that they hated the girl doesn't know how beautiful she is trope, and also the compulsory heterosexuality / everyone gets paired up at the end tropes, which I get. Those are really bad tropes. The next highest number of votes were for the protagonist somehow is good at everything that they try, and the experienced guy / virgin girl dynamic. And what surprised me the most is that the chosen one only received 1 vote against it, so I guess it's not as unpopular as I thought it was. On the flip side, half of the responses said that they either liked the chosen one trope or they just didn't mind it. The protagonist is somehow good at everything, the girl who doesn't know how beautiful she is, and compulsory heterosexuality were the only ones that received 0 votes in the I like this / don't mind it category, just showing how universally unlikable they are. And the other ones only received 1 or 2 votes, so they're also not very popular, but also not that bad. The third question was open-ended, and I asked the survey taker what their least favorite trope of all time was, and the fourth is asking about an unpopular trope that they actually really like. And most of the responses just reiterated things from the first question, which that's on me, I guess. I should have specified that I was looking for other tropes to mention, but who knows, maybe those are tropes that they would have mentioned for these questions regardless of if I had put them in the first 2 anyway. And so I'm just going to talk about the people who put different tropes in their answers. First, though, I do have to shout out Anne, who wrote down that she hates the experienced guy virgin girl dynamic with a burning fiery passion, which that's fair. So first off, Flora says that her least favorite tropes are when there is a huge gap in like age and power in the relationship, but it's played off as okay because the characters are hot. And also when the female character is just picked up and carried around against her will and for no reason really. And she specifically cited Twilight as being a perpetrator of these tropes. And yeah, no, that's fair. She also said that she enjoys the forced proximity trope when it's not done in a creepy way, which I very much agree with. I like that trope when it's two characters being forced by an outside influence to be in proximity to each other, not when character A forces character B to stick around all the time and be close. That veers into weird territory. Then Anna gave some really interesting answers about tropes that I hadn't even thought of when thinking up this survey. And her least favorite trope is the surprise child, which I took to mean like surprise pregnancy, which I really hate. I don't like pregnancy or like birth plot lines in stories whatsoever. But then I also figured maybe she means like a kid showing up out of nowhere and going up to a character and being like, "Hey, I'm your kid," which like can be done right, but I'm also not hugely a fan of. She also says that she's kind of over the big found family trope, which I'll admit stung a little bit because I love a good found family, but also it is kind of saturated in media, and so I can understand her being over it. Her unpopular trope that she actually does like is soulmates, which I think can be cute if it's done right, but there's just so many weird and overdone ways to portray soulmates in stories that I'm not really surprised it's unpopular, but good on her for enjoying it. Our resident basement rat Violet says that her least favorite trope is not like other girls, which I have to hard agree with. It's so annoying to see that in characters, and it's so annoying to see that in real life. Sadly, I know several people who act like that in real life, and it's so annoying. But the unpopular trope that she does like is second chance romance, if I could speak. And I think this is one that's like a little bit on the come up lately. It's like at least on like Instagram Explore page and things like that, a lot of the romances that I see, they're not all second chance romance, but I feel like it's becoming a lot more popular lately. And finally, Katie Ann listed two least favorite prompts, which are also two of my least favorite prompts. So I thought that was pretty interesting that she like pulled them straight out of my brain. She said that she hates accidental pregnancy, which I've already explained that I hate any kind of pregnancy in books. And also, she hates sexual assault in fantasy books that are explained as being historically accurate, because let's be real, it's really not. And also, they're fantasy books, so like, you make up the history for it. I don't know, that's just one that really grinds my gears. An unpopular trope that she likes is young teenagers having to save the world because only teenagers have the audacity. And if she had just stopped at young teenagers having to save the world, I would have had to disagree with her because I don't enjoy that trope. But because teenagers are the only ones who have the audacity, I can get behind that. I think that's pretty fun. And that's the end of this little discussion on some of the least popular tropes. So be sure to let me know down in the comments what your least favorite trope is, and also an unpopular trope that you actually enjoy, especially if they're ones that weren't mentioned in this video. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to give it a big thumbs up. You can subscribe to my channel for more content, and that way I'll see you in the next one. Goodbye, guys!